In 1821, the famous German poet Heinrich Heine wrote, Dort, wo man Bücher verbrennt, verbrennt man am Ende, auch Menschen. Where they burn books, they will also ultimately burn people. Each of us have probably thought about burning a book we dreaded to read during high school, but book burning was around before you and I graduated high school, and it has been performed on an extremely large scale throughout history in the name of religious and political ideology. A collective condemnation is often cried out when such acts occur. We share the conviction that destruction of culture is senseless and perilous to society. So, what are some of the book bonfires that are remembered even today, and why does it matter? In many social conflicts, deep-seated strife has led humans to commit extreme acts of violence, and just as often the bloodletting has been accompanied by the destruction of books. Back in the 6th century, Rome was sacked by the Vandals, and many books perished. Around 250 years before that, the Roman Emperor Aurelian and his troops attempted to recapture Alexandria, and during the siege they destroyed an entire city quarter, including the famed Library of Alexandria. While sources available to us are unclear about whether the library was completely destroyed or not, if it wasn't, then it would be. In 297, during the siege of Alexandria by the Roman Emperor Diocletian. A few hundred years later, the British Isles were subject to Viking plunderings. Christian monasteries that had sustained learning throughout the Dark Ages were often demolished and their contents destroyed. In 1258, taking a leap in history, and a bit more to the east, the Mongols destroyed the House of Wisdom, a public academy and intellectual center in Baghdad. The Mongols chucked books from the House of Wisdom in the Tigris River, and according to chroniclers, the quantities were such that the water ran black from the ink. After the discovery of the Americas in the 16th century, the majority of Maya codices were destroyed and burned by conquistadors and Catholic priests. Notorious was Diego de Landa for having nearly all of the codices burned, not to mention the massacres of native population attributed to him. Book and library destructions are akin to iconoclasm. Icons that are associated with corrupt and evil establishments are destroyed. Biblioclasm is specifically the destruction of books and libraries. Its history is intertwined with political violence and vandalism. Ancient times saw libraries rise and fall during periods of war. What makes destroying books symbolically powerful is the fact that there is a powerful association between texts, group identity, and the preservation of a society's belief system. We can trace evidence of this notion back to 213 before Christ in China. Emperor Qian Shi Huang, the first emperor of the Qing dynasty, buried scholars and burned their books in an attempt to extinguish opposing beliefs and cultures. Some of the burned books were over 2,000 years old, and among the burned books were philosophical treatises written between the 6th and 3rd century before Christ. Just like the Mayan codices, and for that matter every event of biblioclasm touched upon so far, we will never know what kind of knowledge and valuable documents have been lost, only that it was too much. In contrast, the attempt to preserve culture and protect libraries and books provoked heroic efforts. The Jewish people have been persecuted for centuries, and their cultural survival is, among other things, due to their protection of sacred works. The past teaches contemporary groups worried about cultural decline that preserving texts is necessary for cultural autonomy and survival. Often, though not always, the impulse behind biblioclasm is a religious or quasi-religious dedication to an ideology. This obviously always rather primitive. Nowadays, something like this would... Oh, right. So, in recent years, libraries and books have been burned en masse. Let us go back to probably the most famous example of book burning in the 20th century, those in Nazi Germany. In the introduction, I briefly mentioned that there was an ideological component to burning books. Well, Exhibit A. The Sturmabteilung, the thugs and brutes of the Nazi Party, regularly organized book burnings in order to destroy works they deemed against the German spirit. I could honestly create a short film about this, as the biblioclasm in Nazi Germany has been researched extensively. To keep it brief, what exactly did they burn? What was deemed against the German spirit? Jewish, Marxist, pacifist books, though any author that was deemed an enemy of the Nazi regime was prone to having his books burned. But aside from those black pages in world history, after the Nazis, we calmed down a bit with regard to the pyromania, have we? Well, yes, as long as you don't mention the burning of books in Arabic script after the Latin alphabet was introduced in Azerbaijan, hundreds of books burned after the fascist dictatorship of Pinochet was established in Chile in 1973, the burning of a library in Jaffna, Sri Lanka in 1981 during a pogrom against the Tamil population, over 100,000 were burned, the burning of 2.8 million books in Croatia by the Croat government during the 90s because they were written by Serbs, a strange cult in Australia burning books in 2009, some radical leftist hippies breaking into the Library of Amsterdam South Africa Institute in 1984, only to destroy its entire contents, basically being counterproductive to their cause, and a senior Norwegian official removing maps from library books and causing an uproar throughout the entire country when he got caught, resulting not only in his career turned into shambles, but a national outcry for the improved security of libraries. There certainly is a reality of how effective unchecked vandalism and unbound racial pride reverses our progress towards a modern society based on pluralism and tolerance. It seems like a historical law that wherever knowledge is preserved, someone always has to ruin it for the rest. Whether you are a Chinese scholar under an angry emperor, a monk on the British Isles overrun by Vikings, or a Norwegian senior official with a strange library book map obsession. Thank you very much for watching this short video. As always, the sources are in the description, and until next Friday.